Welcome to Biblical Theology Today. My name is Judd. I wanted to do a short video this morning on the Shema, Deuteronomy 6:4 and following. What I want to do is listen to a very good reader of the Shema and then take just a few minutes to make comments on how the Shema is used in 1 Corinthians 8:4 through 6. In Logos, there's an excellent resource by a man, Victor Kalischer, recording of the Old Testament in Hebrew, and he has New Testament Hebrew readings as well. So we're going to listen to this reading. One of the best things you can do if you're trying to keep your biblical Greek and biblical Hebrew up is memorize passages. I have my students memorize this passage, and so let's listen to him read, and then we'll look at some peculiar features of the Shema.
שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך, ובכל נפשך, ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. והיה
So this passage, and we just want to look at these two verses really. Hear, O Israel, so you've got your imperatival from Shema. And then we have this word, and you may have picked up, you may recognize this as a Tetragrammaton, but when Victor pronounced it, he replaced that. And that's a standard Jewish practice. And in fact, the pointing here is inviting us to read it as Adonai. They're leaving the O class vowel out here. So it's kind of a, when you look at it, you say there's something unusual about this word. So this is the standard way. The Masoretes let us know that they're saying don't pronounce this word out loud. Replace it with the word Adonai. What's really interesting about the word Adonai is, when you just look at, Hebrew grammar, it's kind of great. All Hebrew grammar can just be put on, like almost one sheet front and back. Really not much to it there. But you have these suffixal endings, and when you have a word like horse and you want to say his horse, you just put this ending, suso, and that's his horse, and susa, that's her horse. Well, if we're dealing with this word Adon, which means Lord, Adoni would be my Lord singular, and Adonai, it's leaning toward that plural. In fact, it looks like it's saying my Lord's plural. When you come to this, not only is there a translation replacement, but you have this odd feature. And it's the same odd feature that you have with Elohim, where Elohim is a plural word, but it's treated as a singular. Elohim, he does this. Here we have a singular word, but it's being replaced with a plural. When the Septuagintal writers came, they were faced with a difficulty. How do you treat the Tetragrammaton? And I think George Howard, the Septuagintal scholar, has a good article on different ways they tried. Some use different coloring. Some use Paleo Hebrew, but the standard way of doing it is to replace it with the word kurios, Lord, but to treat Lord as if it's a proper name. So when you are reading in the Septuagint, often the word kurios will violate some grammatical rules that you might otherwise expect. It typically doesn't follow the canon of Apollonius. And so when you're reading it, you realize, even in Greek, oh, this is replacing the Tetragrammaton. So this kurios ha theos hemon, Lord, the God of us, this is a little bit jarring, and you think, oh, that's how they're telling me the Tetragrammaton was there. Kurios haste. Hear, O Israel, the Lord, our God, the Lord is one. What is incredibly interesting about that is how in the New Testament there's a place where Paul may be alluding to the Shema, and if I could get all of these things, I don't know where I put the, oh, yeah, it's here. Paul in 1 Corinthians 8, 4 through 6, he's dealing with questions that the Corinthian church had, and there are all kinds of questions, but the one here in 8 is concerning eating of food sacrificed to idols, and Paul's quoting what they had written. We know that an idol is nothing in the world, and that there is no God but one. And then Paul makes an incredible argument. And his argument, he says, for even if, so this could be the Corinthian argument in the question, or it could be Paul's support. Either way, he's supporting the point. For even if there are so-called gods, whether in heaven or on earth, just as there are gods many and lords many. So notice he's gone, so-called gods, gods many, lords many. Then Paul says this, yet for us there is Theos, the Father, from whom all things are, and we are into him, and Kurios, Jesus Christ, through whom all things are, and we are through him. And many scholars are recognizing that Paul seems to be splitting the Shema here, that the one God, is going back to this Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, and he's finding within it a way to think of Jesus on the God side of the equation, not on the man side or the creature side of creation. And what's interesting is he's assuming that that's the standard belief at Corinth. Really striking. If you're interested, there's a DPhil thesis at Oxford. I think it may have been done in 1989 by a man, Paul Rainbow. And it's entitled something like Monotheism and Christology in 1 Corinthians 8, 4 through 6, or something like that. Murray Harris suggested that work. and I found it just incredibly helpful. So that's what I have for you today. I hope you do spend time memorizing the Hebrew Shema. Hope you find it as helpful as I have, and I'll look forward to talking to you next time.